soft footsteps echoed down a deserted alleyway as the clock struck midnight. The world was wrapped in a blanket of silence, the city's sounds muffled as if even they were asleep. But for Daniel, this was a time of quiet freedom, a chance to wander the streets without purpose. Tonight, as he drifted through the narrow paths, he found himself turning down a cobblestone alleyway he'd never noticed before. The walls seemed to close in around him, as though urging him forward, guiding him somewhere he was meant to be. He stopped abruptly when he saw a faint glow emanating from an old door at the alley's end. A warm, golden light seeped through the dust-covered glass panes, spilling out onto the stones below. Above the door hung a small sign, worn with age, bearing the words "The Library of Lost Dreams." He felt a strange tug at his heart, a pull that compelled him to reach out and open the door. A delicate chime rang out as he crossed the threshold, and the air inside embraced him, carrying the faint scent of old parchment and something sweeter, like the lingering memory of childhood. Rows of towering shelves stretched before him, fading into shadows that hid the ceiling above. Each shelf was lined with glass bottles, and each bottle glowed with a soft light, casting colours that ranged from pale silver to rich midnight blue. They flickered gently, like stars suspended in the quiet, hushed darkness. The sight took his breath away, filling him with an overwhelming sense of awe and sadness, as though he had stumbled upon a secret he wasn't meant to find. "You've found your way here." At last a voice broke the silence, and Daniel turned to see an elderly man standing behind a wooden desk near the entrance. The man's face was gentle, lined with age, his eyes twinkling with a warmth that made Daniel feel instantly at ease. He wore a well-worn cardigan, and his hands were folded in front of him, resting on a large leather-bound book. "Welcome," the man said, his voice low and soothing, like the pages of an old book being turned in a quiet room. "I am the keeper of these dreams." Dreams. Daniel's gaze drifted back to the shelves, his eyes tracing the soft glow of the bottles. He noticed that each one seemed to pulse with its own unique light, as if alive, waiting to be held. "Yes," the keeper replied, a hint of sadness in his voice. "Each bottle holds a dream that someone, somewhere, has forgotten or abandoned. They come here, drawn by the magic of the night, waiting patiently to be remembered." Daniel's heart ached at the thought, a pang of recognition stirring within him. He, too, had left parts of himself behind over the years, dreams he had once cherished but had long since let go. The keeper seemed to sense his thoughts, and he reached out, selecting a small blue bottle from a nearby shelf. He held it out to Daniel, his eyes kind and understanding. "Would you like to see one?" he asked, his voice soft. "This dream belonged to a child, a dream of freedom and boundless joy. Close your eyes and let it carry you." Daniel took the bottle, feeling its warmth seep into his hands, and closed his eyes. As he did, the world around him shifted, and he found himself standing in a vast, open field, the sky above stretching endlessly, a deep, cloudless blue. He was a child again, maybe 8 or 9 years old, barefoot on the soft, cool grass. In his hand, he held a kite, vibrant and colourful, its tail dancing in the wind. He felt a surge of excitement, a thrill he hadn't known in years, and he began to run, the kite soaring high above him. As he ran, he felt the wind lifting him, his feet barely touching the ground, his heart racing with joy. For a moment he was flying, weightless, free from all the cares and burdens of the world. He laughed, a sound pure and unburdened, as if he could soar forever. But slowly the dream began to fade, and he felt himself sinking back to the ground, the field dissolving into darkness. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the library, the bottle still warm in his hands. He blinked, surprised to feel a tear slip down his cheek. The keeper watched him, his expression gentle and knowing. "That was a child's wish to fly," the keeper said softly. "A dream of freedom, of limitless possibility. Most people leave such dreams behind as they grow, burdened by the weight of the world. They forget what it feels like to be unbound, to believe that anything is possible." Daniel swallowed, his chest aching with a longing he hadn't felt in years. He realized how far he'd drifted from the person he'd once been, the child who believed in magic, who saw the world as a place of wonder. He looked at the keeper, a question in his eyes, but the man only smiled and turned, guiding him to another shelf where a deep rose-red bottle pulsed with a soft, steady light. "This one holds a different kind of dream," the keeper said, handing him the bottle. "Close your eyes and you'll see." Daniel took a deep breath, clutching the bottle tightly, and closed his eyes. He felt himself pulled into the dream, the world shifting once more. This time he found himself sitting on a park bench at dusk, the golden light of the setting sun casting long shadows over the city. Next to him sat a woman, her face gentle, her eyes warm and kind. She was laughing softly, a sound that felt like music, and as they spoke, he felt a connection with her, something unspoken but powerful. They shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments, the kind that stretched out and filled the spaces between words. He wanted to tell her how he felt, to reach out and take her hand, but something held him back. A fear, a hesitation he couldn't quite name. As he hesitated, the moment slipped away, and he watched as she rose, her figure disappearing into the fading light. A hollow ache filled his chest, a sense of loss so profound it left him breathless. He opened his eyes, his heart pounding, and found himself back in the library, the bottle still glowing softly in his hands. "That was a dream of love unspoken," the keeper said, his voice a whisper. "A connection never pursued, a moment lost to fear and doubt. Such dreams linger, even when the people are gone, their memory an echo in the heart." Daniel felt a deep sadness settle over him, the weight of regrets he hadn't known he carried. He thought of the times he had held back, too afraid to speak his heart, to reach for what he truly wanted. The keeper placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, guiding him to a final shelf where a small, amber bottle waited, its light faint and flickering like the flame of a candle. "This one is different," the keeper murmured. "It holds a dream of passion, of purpose left behind. Close your eyes and let it show you." Daniel did as he was told, closing his eyes and letting himself sink into the dream. He found himself in a small, cluttered studio, the walls covered with vibrant paintings and half-finished sketches. He was older now, his hands stained with paint, a smile of quiet contentment on his face. He moved slowly, with the calm assurance of someone who had spent a lifetime creating, pouring his heart into his art. The air was thick with the scent of oils and turpentine, a familiar, comforting smell. He felt a deep sense of peace, a fulfillment that filled every corner of his heart. This was his dream, he realized, the life he had once imagined for himself but had left behind, choosing instead a path of practicality, of safety. The dream faded, and he found himself back in the library, a bittersweet ache lingering in his chest. "Practicality can be the greatest thief of joy," the keeper said, his voice filled with quiet sorrow. "People abandon their passions believing it is the sensible choice. But those passions are the very things that keep us alive, that make life worth living." Daniel nodded, a tear slipping down his cheek. He had spent so many years chasing a life that felt hollow, leaving behind the pieces of himself that once made him whole. The keeper smiled gently, pressing a final bottle into his hands. This one was empty, save for a faint shimmer of light that flickered like a distant star. "This bottle is yours," the keeper said. "When you're ready, you can fill it with whatever dream you choose. It is never too late to reclaim the pieces of yourself you have lost." Daniel left the library with a lighter heart, the weight of forgotten dreams lifted. As he stepped back into the alley, he looked back, but the door had vanished, leaving only the silent night. He walked home, clutching the empty bottle, a quiet determination growing within him. He knew now that the journey was not over, that the library of lost dreams would remain with him, a place where his heart could return, waiting for him to reclaim the dreams he had once let go.